The fact that you're watching this video, and you've probably seen the last one, does mean that I'm following through this and I'm actually doing it. I'm doing regular, consistent screaming practice. Which is fantastic for me, of course, and maybe also for you if you enjoy watching these. Yeah, so how did it go? Basically, I recorded the first video not exactly, like 15 days ago, so 2 weeks have passed. And now you might be wondering, hey, didn't you want to make weekly updates on this? And yes, actually I did want to make a weekly progress video. However, the project file from the first week's practice sessions got corrupted for some reason, so I lost all of that audio, which will also make it difficult to compare the first few steps to later stages, but hey, what can you do? I do have some audio from the second week though, so we will be taking a few listens here and there. Yeah, let's have a short little recap. How did the first 2 weeks go? You guys might remember that I didn't start at a 0 point. I was already familiar with how to do the false chord sound. And also, at least like the beginning stages of how to get somewhere near the fry scream, which I do struggle a lot more with. And the strategy was dedicating a bit more time to the fry scream to try and get the technique down, because it seems like it's not as easy for me. How did this work out? Overall, the first week was pretty successful, I would say. I did practice 5 out of 7 days, which to me is a huge accomplishment. So there are a few things that I noticed, and I actually took notes for each practice session I did. Number one is, I should warm up properly and consistently. Even yesterday, when I did an actual vocal warm-up, and then I went into false chord screaming, which is feels a bit more natural and easy to me, it was night and day difference how my voice felt, and I also believe how it sounded. I think it's time to look up a few vocal exercises, maybe even for screaming specifically, and build a short little routine that I'm going to do every single time before I start practicing. There's another problem regarding the throat. Usually when I sing, I don't really have problems with getting sore or even having pain. The problem is when I have to talk a lot, like I'm doing in this video, or I'm recording a script for one of my other projects on YouTube, or maybe when I'm teaching students. That's where my voice really feels worn out, fatigued, or maybe even a little bit damaged. I'm trying to implement things to make that better, but that is just added stress that I kind of have to try and work around. One thing that I was struggling a bit during the first week was my false chord scream. For some reason I thought, hey, I already kind of got this down, now I need to kind of get it longer, louder, more range, and try to actually play lyrics. And I think that was a huge mistake, because I noticed that especially on days where I was starting with fry screaming, I would already kind of put my voice through some stress, and then I wouldn't really pay that much attention on how to get the false chord distortion, and I would kind of just push too much and maybe get sore or even hurt myself a little bit. The proper thing to do here is to kind of take a step back and treat false chord similarly to fry screaming, trying to get it basically not from a 0 point, but really trying to do it slowly and get the distortion in the right place so it feels good and also sounds the way I want. And I was pretty successful with this during the second week, so I already noticed an improvement there. Sometimes it's just about going slow and really being cautious. Another thing is, for the first week, I did almost all of my practice sitting in this chair, facing the computer, and recording into the mic in a similar setup like this. Sometimes the mic was even lower, so I'd have to lean forward to get the similar sound. I think this is a mistake on my part, because I should, A, when I'm sitting, be in a position where I can breathe in and out comfortably, engage the diaphragm nicely, and 2, I noticed that sometimes I feel way more comfortable practicing this while standing. So I'll try to do this more often, warm up and practice standing upright, and then maybe when I record some progress points for these videos, then I can sit down briefly and do it into the microphone. So sadly I cannot show you any progress points for fry and false chord scream from the first week, which would have been really nice because we might have noticed a change already, but we're gonna do it for the next ones hopefully if no other files get corrupted. Basically the goals I set for week 2 were the following. For fry screaming, I wanted to try and get more easily into the sound. to try and get more easily into this and try to keep it a bit longer, maybe even play around with the range, and try to extend the time that I can do this without hurting myself or getting sore. I do think there is a component to this where my muscles around the voice are not used to keep the vocal folds, I suppose, closed while I'm pushing air through it. So it might also be just a thing about endurance, and this might improve over time. You know, we just gotta wait and see. With false chord, I had a few different goals in mind. I wanted to find the right spot, the right distortion, and then try to start with mids, not with lows, even though sometimes I'm tempted to do it because they sound pretty good. To start with mids, and then move down to the lows, and then maybe even go into highs and try to get the sound right there. Yeah, so that's basically everything noteworthy about week 1. Again, it's a bit of a shame we don't have any actual recordings to compare, but let's go into week 2, then we can actually listen to some audio here. There we go. So basically, the first recording I did was on day 10, so essentially the 3rd day of the 2nd week. The recording I did was for false chord screaming, and when I look through my notes here, I did quite a long vocal warm-up that time around, and then I tried to apply what I wanted for this week. Essentially, go from the mid-range and then try to get lower, but also a little bit higher. Immortal. And I found I was fairly comfortable that day, but like getting high, so actually higher than I'm like comfortably at, is a bit tricky, and sometimes I feel like I'm losing the distortion there, so we'll see how this improves over time. I tried to do fry screaming on the same day, but I noticed that my voice is just not really there. When I tried to do all these tricks to get into the fry distortion, I just noticed I couldn't do it. When I did this breath holding exercise I showed in the first video of I wasn't able to get this sound even, which is not really the full powered fry scream yet, but this is like usually the starting point where I'm currently moving around, and I wasn't able to get it that day. It just didn't feel good. Every time I would try to apply enough force and air to get it, it would just feel like warm, almost sore, almost hurting in a way. So I decided to let it go after about 8 minutes, so no fry recording from that day. On day 11, so the day after, I did dedicate a bit more time to the fry scream because my voice did feel a lot better, and I did it actually for quite a while. I did probably the longest practice session yet, about an hour. I also watched the tutorial video from Hungry Lights again because, of course, he's very big on YouTube right now and seems to be a very reputable vocal coach by now, so thought I might follow his advice. And he said when you have this fake fry sound, you need to add your falsetto, and it needs to act like a wedge. So from this fake fry, you open into like like a falsetto fry. And I tried to do this in a few of the following days, and I have to say, doesn't really work for me yet. He says the fry scream is very loud, and I don't seem to get it right because for me it's more quiet and it doesn't really sound like it sounds for him. But in this video he shows the slow steps of how he gets from singing in his chest voice, transitioning into the falsetto fry.
Correct, proper fry.
And the in-between sound he does, I think I did manage to get something similar on one of the few days. I even have a recording. Trying to add falsetto doesn't seem to do the trick. I will try to continue to do it in the future. It might click at some point, but so far it doesn't seem that promising to me. Day 14 was the final day I did some practicing, which was yesterday, and I also did some recording. This time only false chord, really. And I did the singing warm-up. It felt really, really good. I did it standing as well, and I managed to really kind of activate my voice and my false chords very nicely. And it felt good, it felt loud. And I could do nice mids and lows. I could even do some gutturals with the tip of the tongue and the top row of your teeth. And it felt good. It's still a bit tricky to apply lyrics, but it already felt a bit better, and I think if I really focus on warming up from here on out, I'll probably be able to make faster progress, so gotta stay disciplined. Sadly, I didn't do fry screaming yesterday because after doing that, my throat did feel a bit closed, so I just noticed I was not able to get the distortion right. It really depends on the day and how fatigued my voice is. Yeah, so what are we taking away from week 2 here? My first takeaway is warming up properly is really something I need to focus on, so what we learned from week 1 is still applies after week 2. Another thing is I'll try to experiment a bit more with different approaches to how to get a fry distortion. Make sure I have the distortion right and I get some volume in there, that it actually sounds loud enough the way it's supposed to without hurting myself, because I think that will give me reassurance that I'm doing it right. Since everybody's saying fry is actually louder than when you're speaking. And right now I don't really understand how, but we'll hopefully get there. With false chord, when I do it properly and I warm up, I think I can already work on some pronunciation, some lyrics, controlling a few lines. So, going slow, but trying to kind of move away from just creating sounds and syllables. Should I not feel comfortable with this and notice, oh, it's too early to do these things, I might stop, go back, but yeah, I'll guess you'll find out in the next video. Thank you guys a lot for watching. I hope you can take away something that's interesting or useful even for your own screaming progress. I know a lot of people struggle getting the feeling right for these different techniques and the positions, and I think this is normal at the beginning. If you're not insanely talented and just have luck getting it instantly, it is a struggle, but I believe it's possible. A lot of people can scream very, very nicely, and I refuse to believe that you cannot learn this, even though it doesn't click with you in the first few attempts. I'm really excited to see how this will develop going forward. I hope I'll see a lot of you guys in the next video as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video of this series. Also, if you're interested in a bit of a different form of content, I make some very long and in-depth analyses of video game soundtracks. So if you're interested in that, check out my channel, check out the series Is the Music Good? Don't forget to leave a like on the video, it helps me grow the channel immensely and every support is greatly appreciated. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.